The thing that holds us back from adapting is our mindset. This is a trying time across the board. And there's some people that are really taking it as a grain of salt, and they're like, we're going to do the best we can. And are you going to let it hold you back? Or are you going to figure out and reframe your thinking so that you can push through and adapt?
Cue music. Places, everybody places. We're starting in 3, 2.
Welcome to the Autoimmune Hour, where we look at the rise of autoimmune disorders. I've brought together top experts that range from doctors, specialists, nutritionists, researchers, and even those recovering from autoimmune to bring you the latest, most up-to-date information about autoimmunity and how to live your life uninterrupted.
Thank you for joining us here on the Autoimmune Hour with Sharon Saylor. Always seek sound legal, medical, and or professional advice regarding any problems, conditions, and any of the recommendations you see, hear, or read here on the Autoimmune Hour, Understanding Autoimmune, and Life Interrupted Radio. Now, we don't want you to worry about taking too many notes, so you can join the Autoimmune Hour's Courage Club, and we'll send you the transcripts and show notes from every episode. Sign up now at understandingautoimmune.com. Now, back to your host, Sharon Saylor.
Welcome, everyone, to the Autoimmune Hour. I'm Sharon Saylor from SharonSaylor.com, and we've had another brand new episode for you. I'm so thrilled to be bringing it to you every Friday night starting 7 p.m., and then, of course, it's always in podcast and videocast for you as well. And another timely topic, it's Fibromyalgia Awareness Month. And I wanted to bring back Kristal Kent. She's been on the show before, and she's a huge advocate, well-known advocate for fibromyalgia, among many other things. She's an Army veteran, a veteran advocate and patient leader expert, and she has 20 years of social service experience in advocacy work, focusing on educating the fibromyalgia community about their illness and how best to advocate for their own healthcare needs and apply for medical disability benefits. And she's also part of the Veterans with Fibromyalgia advocacy group. And we'll go into that in a little bit more, but I want to make sure that we have plenty of time because she's just got this huge bio of all of her advocacy work, not only for individuals with fibromyalgia, but also for military veterans. But I want to make sure we have plenty of time to talk about what we're going to talk about tonight, and that is self-care, and especially in this time of heightened contagion, heightened anxiety. So thanks for being on the show again, Kristal.
Thank you for having me. I'm so excited to be back again.
Oh my gosh, I'm so thrilled. And since we last talked, obviously the world's changed a lot. And one of the things I wanted to ask you about were some of the things that you were seeing within your extended community about self-care and self-care in general, but also self-care in this time of, I'll say, heightened anxiety. One of the couple of things that came to my mind when I was talking to friends, I said, well, we got to talk to Kristal about this, is some of my friends without autoimmune or pre-existing conditions were just going on and on and on about all of this heightened fear. And out of my mouth, rather snarkily, came, well, welcome to my world. And I thought Kristal must have her ear to the ground on what's happening out there. So share with us just some of your first thoughts about it.
Well, interestingly, so obviously I focus on outreaching and advocating on behalf of like the fibromyalgia community, chronic pain communities, and veteran communities. But in the midst of the COVID pandemic, I've had a lot of people reach out to me who do not have any medical condition. And a lot of it is fear or misunderstanding, or they go to an advocate that they feel is a trusted resource on, okay, well, I know you live your life in a way that is somewhat precautionary so that you're not, catching like the flu or pneumonia or other things like that. So what are those things that you're doing to safeguard yourself? And so it's actually a very positive thing that people reached out who don't normally have medical, concerns or underlying conditions to ask, what have I been doing like this whole time with having fibromyalgia and a compromised immune system and all this other stuff. And so freely, sharing that information, but also letting them know I'm not a doctor. So, please defer to your medical providers if you have further questions, because I am, although very well read, I am not an expert or specialist on viruses, so that was an interesting caveat in this situation. And within the communities of chronic illness as a whole, there's a couple of camps. There's that one camp that's like, I've been doing this my whole life, and my whole life has prepared me for this. And they're kind of just moving along smooth sailing. Then there is a lot of people who, fear is contagious.
It is.
Misinformation is contagious, and so is negativity. And those three things we're seeing right now. And so there's a lot of fear in the communities trying to figure out like what information is correct and what they should be doing. And then I always say, just go back to the basics and do what you've always been doing. Like, when you're ill or it's a high risk season for the flu or pneumonia or whatnot, you prepare yourself, you wear your masks, you carry your sanitizer, you wash your hands, you keep following those same safeguarding, techniques that you've been doing. And then as information comes out, and this is a big anxiety induced thing that happens, is that we are seeing this happen with COVID in real time. So information that came out 2 weeks ago or a month ago, it might not be relevant, or there's more information out. And so I tell people, I'm like, just stay on top of the information from reputable resources. Get off of social media for that information. Don't watch the mainstream media. Really look up, follow the CDC and what they say, the National Institute of Health, and follow those experts who specialize in viruses. And then take all that information and kind of put it together and figure out the best approach for you. And that's the best recommendation I can make, because people within my community also have other medical conditions besides fibromyalgia, which is very common. They could have lupus, MS, rheumatoid arthritis. I have individuals that have beaten cancer or are currently battling cancer. So every person is individual, and you have to take an individualized approach, which works best for you. So as far as safeguarding, I always tell people, follow what you've been doing. Like, you've been doing this stuff, and now you'll be okay if you keep following those things and just take a breath each day, each moment you need to, and take a break. Get off of social media. Instead of reading the latest updates, because the CDC puts them out every day, you can go and check that later on. You don't need to check it the moment it comes out. Go read something that makes your heart happy, or have a fun anchoring activity to help reduce that anxiety, stress, and fear in between all this information that's coming out, and what you should do or what you shouldn't do. There's a lot of recommendations out there on how to take care of yourself, but ultimately at the end of the day, you need to do what's best for you. And like I said, Sharon, with yourself and with myself, we have a lot of other things going on. So, I'm walking out like I'm a physical being, human being that's like a Fort Knox moving along.
Yeah, I feel like a spacesuit, a space alien, but I'm like, it doesn't matter. I don't really care.
Right. And that's what I do have to go out, and I just remind people, like, you've been having your groceries delivered before, keep doing that. And there's certain things that we really can't get delivered right now, such as paper products and some cleaning products. And I was like, okay, if you live by yourself or don't have any family, let's use our network to see who's by you, and if their family can pick up what you need when they go out. And all these apps where you can transfer money, it really makes it easy to protect yourself, safeguard, and be smart during this time and still get your needs met. And there's that fear there too. Anxiety, which I'm sure you've heard as well, is that, oh my gosh, I have to go out, and what if someone stands too close to me? What if they're not wearing a mask? And so utilizing all these tools to circumvent and reduce the number of times you have to go out when you have a chronic illness or a compromised immune system, the better off you're going to be. And that will help you reduce some anxiety and stress in the long run, knowing that you have a plan in place to take care of your needs.
No, it's interesting that you mention about your friends or their friends' families asking for help. I've had people reach out to me. I live alone, and it's like, let's brainstorm here. Who do you know that is well and has the precautions to go out and is doing the grocery shopping for a family? And I find there's resistance to asking for help. Yes, I feel sometimes like I've got to placate to my illness here, but then again, I want to be strong and resilient. And I'm trying to get through this message of it's okay to ask for help. That has nothing to do with your personal inner resilience. It's okay in these conditions or any condition to ask someone for help. And I find that's a fascinating thing where people who are immune compromised, they really want to be strong and they'll just muscle through it like they do everything else. I'm like, maybe not the best choice.
Yeah, and sometimes I like to reframe things in different ways so that it kind of opens their mind. So I'll be like, you're really not asking for help. You're asking for support. And then in exchange, you could support someone as well without leaving your house. Like when they have questions about, how do I protect myself? And you can say, this is an opportunity for you to share your story and role model to everyone around you. And the other thing is I've informed, people think outside of the box. We have a tendency to, when things are tough, right? Okay, coronavirus, it's beyond tough right now, but we kind of come into our own little bubble of community. And I've been encouraging people to go out of their community. A lot of towns, cities, counties, they'll have private groups on social media. And I'm not saying that everybody in those groups are nice, because they're people and everybody comes from all facets of life. And you got to take certain things with a grain of salt. But, where I live, I'm in the private group for my city where I live. I'm also in the private group for my parents as well. And what's amazing is, despite a lot of the, I'm going to say going back and forth debates on social media, some of that negativity, and what you're seeing is people are not reading or listening to be objective and learn someone else's perspective. They're listening and reading simply to respond. So keeping that in mind, that will help you how to present information if you get into a lively discussion. But I found that in these little groups for your city, and some of them have them broken down by neighborhood, and I have a neighborhood group too. So, and what has been awesome that I'm seeing, and what I'm also hearing from other people, whether they have a medical condition or not, is that these groups on social media are really coming together to support each other. My hometown, there's an awesome husband and wife. They put out a pantry at the end of their driveway. And when people go by, and I've sat by a couple times and put some people products in there when I've been out. And these are things why it's also important that while we have our communities for chronic illness to support us, don't be afraid to join those communities that are for your hometown, your neighborhood, because guess what? I know there's bad apples out there, but there's more good ones than bad ones. And that's a great way to, support each other, whether you need something. In these groups that I'm in, I have, I see people posting, okay, doing my weekly run to the store. Does anybody need anything? I will be wearing gloves and I will drop it off at your door. I've had people text, call, message me on social media. I really want to help veterans during this time. Do you know of any veterans that might, need support? Do you know anybody who's chronically ill that might need someone to go grocery shopping for them? So that's why I say get off the social media and not spend so much time, because we'll focus so much on that negativity that we're going to miss all those silver linings. And not to be afraid to go outside of your comfort zone and join your neighborhood or city group, because there's people there who are so kind-hearted and they will help you. And you don't even have to necessarily put out that you need support. They'll say, I'm doing my weekly grocery run. I'm doing my weekly cleaning product run. And you could say, I could really use some, laundry detergent, whatever it is. And then these other apps, you don't have to exchange cash. So this is a bright spot of what's going on with COVID. It's that it's bringing us back to our roots, to being a community where we live, because a lot of people don't know their neighbors anymore these days.
It's funny you bring that up. I have friends who recently moved, so they didn't know their neighbors. And then this whole thing came upon them. And the neighbors started having a weekly evening barbecue at their driveway, each of their driveways. So they're more than 20 feet apart. It's a bigger type of neighborhood with yards. And they bring their barbecue to the front of their house, barbecue their own food, eat their own food, and talk across the street. And they've met every one of their neighbors now. They've met just by these fun little ways to change up, do something instead of being stuck in their house. And I thought, what a marvelous idea to have these little block parties, even at a social distance, so, across the street type of thing. And I thought that was really a cute idea, that they've even had some little sing-alongs and stuff. And when it gets sunny, or one of the people were talking about putting up some sort of movie screen and having movie night. And I thought, well, how nice is that? They're really getting to know their neighbors.
Right. And again, it's just, I'm one of those people, I'm always looking for silver linings, right? We're in a time where we don't know what's going to happen. We don't know how long this is going to last. We don't know from day to day what information is going to come out or new discovery. But the one thing we do know is that kindness goes a long way, especially when it's coupled with creativity. And I live by myself, and my parents actually work at places that are high traffic places. So I have not hung out with my mom since I've been in self-isolation since March 6th. So it is now May 15th. So what? 9 weeks, almost 10 weeks, 9.5 weeks. So, what am I doing to keep my spirits up? And what am I doing that's creative and is still bringing me social connection, even though I can't be with anybody, around anybody, because of COVID, and plus of the higher risk it poses for me. And it's like, you see, like, oh, in my neighborhood, they said put bears out in the windows or different stuffed animals. So when the parents take their kids out, that the kids have something to look at, and then they can have conversations. The parents can have conversations with their kids about like the different animals and teach them things about animals. And it's like such simple acts of kindness can go such a long way. And things like you said, doing a movie night, how awesome is that? And that is so possible to do in a neighborhood. So let's be honest, a lot of guys have all their little equipment and fun stuff. And someone in the neighborhood somewhere has got a big screen, and then they'll be able to project it, and everybody can sit on their lawn chairs in their drive or grass and watch a movie. It's a time where we have to basically, in a lot of ways, step back from being reliant on objects to entertain us and going back to the basics of what life used to be like without electronics and what we used to do, and respecting that social distancing at the same time. And there's just so many things you can do that will lift your spirit and make everybody feel a little bit more happy at the end of the day, and still keep yourself safe. I was watching a military veteran in Ohio turned 100, World War II veteran, and the community came together and they did a vehicle parade for this gentleman.
Oh, wow.
And this gentleman was just like, honestly, this was probably the best birthday I could have had, regardless of the circumstances. He's like, who would get a parade in normal circumstances? No one. And he's like, so I got a parade on my 100th birthday. There are ways to build community so that you are putting out self-care and happiness and kindness for everybody. And then at home, you can do a lot of activities. We talk about self-care, and I know you do as well. So as far as taking care of our physical health, but we often forget to touch upon the emotional well-being of self-care. And I know, like, you have a lot of techniques, if you want to share those, and then I can share some of mine. And
Yeah, absolutely. We need to take a quick commercial break, though. When we come back, we'll talk about those different types of self-care beyond the physical, beyond the gloves and masks. We'll be right back.
Life Interrupted Radio will return after these messages from our sponsors. It's great sponsors like these that keep this show coming to you every week. Be sure and stop by lifeinterruptedradio.com to learn more.
Your conscious lifestyle on steroids. OMTimes Radio. IOM FM.
Hello, I'm Lisa Berry. Join me every Monday at 1 p.m. Eastern Time for Light on Living. A chance to see new, hear different, and feel more as I shine the spotlight on all the ways to lighten the load of life's challenges. Light on Living is your link to that new way you're looking for, that new understanding that will enhance your life, and that positive connection that will support your growth. So join me and you'll gain insight and start to see things in a new way that motivates you.
OMTimes Magazine is one of the leading online content providers of positivity, wellness, and personal empowerment. A philanthropic organization, their net proceeds are funneled to support worldwide charity initiatives via Humanity Healing International. Through their commitment to creating community and providing conscious content, they aspire to uplift humanity on a global scale. OMTimes, co-creating a more conscious lifestyle.
Listen and imagine. It takes 5 seconds to send a text, and for those 5 seconds, you're driving blind. Life is worth more than a text. Stay alive. Don't text and drive.
Visit StopTextStopWrecks.org, a message brought to you by the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration, Project Yellow Light, Noise, and the Ad Council.
Hi, this is Sharon, and of course you know me from here on the Autoimmune Hour. Maybe you don't know I'm also an author. My latest book is for kids. It's Pinky Chenille and the Rainbow Hunters, a winner of a 5-star reader's favorite review. It's perfect for your early reader and a great bedtime story for your young adventurers. Check it out over at pinkychenille.com. That's PinkyChenille.com. See you there. Welcome back, everyone, to the Autoimmune Hour. I'm Sharon Saylor from SharonSaylor.com, and tonight we're here with Kristal Kent. She's an Army veteran, fibromyalgia advocate, and a veteran advocate and patient-leading expert. And she's been around a long time just really advocating for people with chronic conditions, long-term conditions. She's a member of We Go Health and the Society for Participatory Medicine, and I could go on and on at all the amazing advocacy work she does for people around getting finding their own voice. And tonight we're just talking, just having a wonderful chat with Kristal about, life right now, the new normal, whatever we want to call it. I hope this isn't going to become the new normal, that we'll move through this and come to a new place. But one of the things we talked about before that quick commercial break was the emotional element, the anxiety element, how all of that is very contagious. It's not just the contagion of the virus for me in my mind. I was telling Kristal this morning, I belong to this wonderful thing. I love it. It's a community, meets Monday through Friday for 1 hour. A couple of things I love about that is that, number one, it's a structure. I know Monday through Friday I'm doing that at that particular time, so it keeps me knowing what day of the week it is. and also, I love the structure. However, there was one person today, in fact, who was trapped in fear. And I noticed how contagious that was. And then the instructor did a great job of moving that from fear to a better place of more openness and open-mindedness and away from fear. It's so true. I appreciate you saying there's this interesting duality to social media, choosing your groups wisely, not reading the craziness, all of the research that isn't really research, all of that, but choosing groups wisely. And I'm finding the online group sort of a mixed blessing in my mind. I get tired of just looking at a screen. It's sort of physically tiring, just be looking at a screen. But one group I wanted to mention that I thought was super creative, she's a professional artist. She opened up a group and she's teaching us little bits and little Facebook Lives about this is how you use this particular paintbrush, or this is how you use markers, or this is the best paper. And then all of us share what we created. And I think that's really fun, because it feels really fun to share a lot of creative things, like, oh, wow, look at what she did. Look at her painting, and those sorts of things. So I'm always looking for these opportunities in smaller groups that I know who's there, and you're really developing, even if it's virtual, you're really developing a community and a friendship.
Absolutely. And again, this is another silver lining. Like, we're learning talents and skills of people we didn't even know had. I've seen individuals who are, I mean, in my mind, they're like gourmet chefs, and they're like, all right, I made baked Alaska today, and here, I know that's a bit extreme, because I don't even know what baked Alaska is. I hear it, but I've seen a lot of individuals who are certified chefs, professional, chefs who work at high-end restaurants, and then they're showing you how to make some of their more tantalizing meals at home, and how to make it cost effective, how you can substitute things. I have friends and other fellow advocates who, they might advocate for a specific, medical condition. And then you find out, oh, I'm a certified health coach, or I'm also a yoga instructor, and they're doing free yoga lives and free guided meditation. Save a Warrior is one of them. They're doing guided meditation every day at 10 a.m. EST time and 7 p.m. EST time. And a lot of people, even though, they support the veteran community, they're going and doing these lives on Facebook. And now all these people are like, wow, this is really cool. Like, they've opened this up to the community beyond veterans, because they realize that self-care is also about that emotional balance, and to have that opportunity free of charge. It's wonderful. And so the other thing that is fantastic is, you could go on YouTube to meditate or do yoga, but you don't have that connection with that person like you would with someone that you've seen on social media, whether you know them in person or not, even following them or been friends with them. So it makes it a little bit easier to engage in those activities on social media, because there is a connection there, versus if you're watching, I don't know, Joe Schmo yogi master that you don't know who he is, and his videos, which are great, but having that connection with someone established, it makes that experience more enjoyable. And then that reduces anxiety, and it helps reduce fear, and you're releasing oxytocin and serotonin, which is the happy stuff in our brain and our body. So, that's why it's important to branch out of your comfort zone and try new things, or follow new things that are interesting. I can't paint.
I would have said that. I couldn't either, but with her little tidbits, I'm telling you, well, it's never going to hang in the Louvre, but, I got some kudos from other people in the community, so it felt good.
So the fact that, I find it, even that it might not be my area that I can develop and do well at, I am fascinated and find it, amazingly entertaining and wonderful to just see the skill set of some people. It's just mind blowing. And I'm a little jelly. I'm like, I wish I could, bust out a Van Gogh without thinking about it, but that's not my area of skill, and that's fine. But I appreciate those people that have it and are sharing it so freely and willingly to help brighten someone else's day.
Oh, absolutely. The ones I'm enjoying that I feel like, oh yeah, that's never going to happen, are these really cute musical parodies. I find those just uplifting, and I think, how creative is that? I can't sing. I don't ever proclaim that that's going to be any skill set of mine, but I'm really enjoying those to see, oh my gosh, how creative people are. And I think that's one of the things, at least for me during this time, is we are having to think more creatively, whether it's as scary as just, okay, how do I keep the virus at bay, all the way to how do I keep my mental health strong, my family's mental health strong. I know a lot of family members, their children are at home, and maybe you have seniors that you're worried about, and having to keep that creativity mode in your mind on keeping it all open-minded, I think, to me, is the big part about this. And one of the things I keep reminding myself of as through a strange silver lining in my diagnosis several years ago is thinking back to the diagnosis and how sick I was and realizing, everything passes, everything changes, that this too will change, and making some decisions on how I want that change to be. Do I want to be stuck in fear and anxiety, or do I want to creatively lift myself out of this? Maybe even perhaps create a community of my own. I'd love to hear from the listeners if they're developing communities of their own. That would be awesome.
Right. And I always say that, we are very adaptable beings. The thing that holds us back from adapting is our mindset, because we allow that fear and anxiety to take over. And, and it's, you see this, with individuals who, this is a trying time across the board. And there's some people that they're really taking it as a grain of salt, and they're like, we're going to do the best we can. And then some people, what happens is once you start getting in that mode of anxiety and stress, and I'm not saying that you not to have that stress, because it is a stressful situation, but what you're going to do with that energy is what counts. And are you going to let it hold you back, or are you going to figure out and reframe your thinking so that you can push through and adapt the way we're built to be? We're very adaptable. We're very adaptable, physically and emotionally, and then bringing that whole mind-body connection together so that, once you are able to do things like self-care, fun activities, reframe your thinking, that helps reduce the anxiety. I'm not saying it's going to go away. I'm not saying it's going to cure it, but it helps you bring you to a place where you can better manage it. And once you can better manage and cope, then certain things that anxiety affects in your body, like your heart rate or your sleep patterns or your levels of fatigue, that will improve as well. Now, is it going to be perfect? No. I'd rather take, a 20% improvement over anything versus nothing, and using all these different modalities. Again, we're not going to be where we were before this happened, but I'd rather be in this situation with a good mindset than a negative one, because that's when things start going downhill. And like I said, some people are very creative. I have a friend that's a single mom, and she has a minivan, and they did like a pseudo drive-in movie night. Like you would go to with their kids and used technology, the iPads and stuff, and her kids each had one with headphones, and they could watch whatever movie they were allowed. They picked one, and she downloaded it, and then had like the big buckets of popcorn and like licorice, and created a drive-in movie experience for her kids in the midst of the coronavirus in her driveway. And her kids have talked about it for, I don't know, every time I FaceTime them, they still talk about how cool that was. And I was like, you need to talk to your mom to do another drive-in movie night in your driveway. I thought that was amazing, the creativity with that.
Oh, absolutely. And I want to just piggyback on this idea of the anxiety. To me, it's, as you said, it's all about controlling it, because it will pop up. It just tends to pop up, and it can pop up very quickly. But the more you practice the skill of breathing through it, knowing that this too shall pass, thinking creatively about the anxiety, why is it right here now? What can I do differently? All of those things, the more you practice them, the stronger that skill set gets. And so not only in the case of being able to reframe it for yourself, but reframe it for friends and family as well, because that will also help you as you're feeling like maybe the anxiety came from outside. A family member called you and all of a sudden ramped up, their anxiety was ramped up, or it ramps up your anxiety. And I just find the more we use those skills of deep breathing, conscious mindset, making sure that we're trying to up-level our energy, think creatively, think out of the box. What would be fun? One thing I do too, which is great for deep breathing as well as changing my mood, is I force myself to laugh. I know that sounds weird, but not just watching funny movies, which I'm doing more often, but now just really force myself to laugh or giggle about something. And I find not only does it exercise my lungs when you force yourself to laugh, I know not a lot, doesn't count as exercise, but it just really force yourself to laugh. You'll be amazed at how your mood changes.
There's research behind that. Forcing yourself to smile or laugh, you do release endorphins. And so that saying like fake it till you make it, now is that going to fix everything? No, but there is science that backs like when I always tell people just smile at yourself in the mirror every day when you get up. As corny as it sounds, just say how awesome you are. I'm like, because you are. Everyone's awesome. Everybody's got something awesome that they're able to do. And the thing of it is that you do release natural bodily chemicals in your brain and your body that lifts your mood. And then eventually when you practice, it becomes habit. And once you've established that habit, then you don't have to force yourself to smile or to laugh because it becomes a habit. And it is a mood booster, both emotionally and chemically, because your body's releasing the chemicals when you are laughing and smiling. And it's more important, I think, more than ever to do that because we're disconnected, unfortunately, from our family and our friends because of the situation. So we have to use all these little techniques to kind of get us through the day. And, like with anxiety, I always, like to explain anxiety. It's like you're in a computer and then all of a sudden these pop-up windows come up. Boom, boom. That's anxiety. Like it could come out of nowhere. It could be, you're going along your day, ho-humming, someone calls, and they're stressed out and then it brings your mood down. And I purposely am selfish with my time. It sounds bad, but it's a part of self-care is establishing boundaries. How much am I going to give as far as my time to people who are stuck in that cycle of negativity? I can't, it's not good for me. It is just, it changes my mojo, especially when it's like, I don't know, the same perpetrators. People who are just stuck in that mindset. And so I've had to learn to like curtail those phone calls and say, okay, today I'll be able to handle this and talk them through it. And sometimes it's a 3-hour phone conversation. Sometimes it's a 30-minute. But, part of self-care is also not allowing yourself to be 100% expendable either to everybody and accessible. You need to set boundaries because if you don't, then you're dealing with your own stressors and then taking on everybody else's, it is going to affect you. And you have to be, I always say, structure that, kind of like structure it in your routine, like literally schedule some of those things. And I'm not saying like with everybody, we all know, everybody has someone in their life. We all know that person.
Yes, we do.
They're all very kind-hearted people and they're great people, a good family member, friend or whatnot. But they're those type of people, they get stuck in that wheel like a hamster running negativity and doom and gloom. And you got to meet them where they're at, but you also have to respect your time and well-being as well and kind of come to a happy medium of being able to support yourself and support that person as well without it being detrimental to your emotional well-being. So that's something a lot of people are learning how to manage that right now because there's more going on causing stress.
And absolutely. And my thing about boundaries is you don't have to explain yourself. That's one of the things about boundaries. You can set boundaries. And here's a tip that a friend shared with me. We have a mutual friend that was like you're explaining, tends to get stuck in reading too much of the crazy news, shall I say. News that's questionable, that, like, really? No, I don't, did you really check that out and research kind of thing? And when I see the name on the phone and I'm tattling here, it's like, oh, hi, how you doing? Boy, you caught me. I just got like 5 minutes. How you doing? And I check in with him. I send him some love, send him some gratitude. But I also have a way to say, okay, gotta run. And so the exposure is limited, shall I say. So it's okay to set boundaries. It's okay to, it's more than okay. I think to me nowadays it's mandatory to keep all of those mind viruses from coming in as well as any of the real live creepy critter viruses.
Right. And we talk about just in general outside of COVID and everything, toxic people. There's just people that they don't even realize that they're just a lot of negative mojo, and they don't mean to be, but they got stuck in that rut. They got stuck on their computer watching all those negative pop-ups, and that's all they can see now. And there's science behind that as well, that, you can reset the way your brain is wired when you're focused so much on negative things, or you have a negative mindset, like you end up gearing your mind to see the negative more than the positive, or kind of be like, oh, positive frou, right? But the science also shows that you can reframe your thinking and rewire those synapses and neurons and all that stuff. So like when you're focused on negative, it actually changes your brain. Literally, it changes your brain. And it's very interesting to look at those CAT scans between the different people and how they interpret the world around them. And it's just mind-boggling to me. And I was like, wow, this is like tangible evidence that shows once you start focusing on the negative, you've rewired your brain to focus on that. Like a predator that is focusing on the horizon, looking for the threat, right? Mm-hmm. That's how you reframe your brain when you're constantly focusing on the negative, constantly venting or being frustrated. And I'm not saying that it's literally impossible in life to be happy every moment, but that's an emotion. But positivity or being proactive in, trying to be neutral in situations or focusing on those silver linings, that's an action. So it's literally, and I tell people all the time, I'm like, don't think that I'm happy all the time. It's literally impossible. It's an emotion. I'm like, you get in a car accident, you're not going to be happy about it. But, if you take a step back and let the stress of the situation dwindle down over a couple days, like look and see, if there's some positive aspects. I can give a really kind of serious real life situation, as for, if you don't mind me sharing. A year ago, on May 23rd of 2019, my home was accidentally set on fire by a roofing company. They went to lunch and they left flammable materials out on the roof, and they were on. And my home,
remember that.
Yes. And my home was like, right? And it took 6 months and 1 week before I can move back home. So May 23rd, I didn't end up moving back home until November 30th of 2019. It is not easy going through the situation of your home is on fire, dealing with construction, dealing with insurance. But so there's some silver linings here. The way certain things worked out, like I could not find like some of my military awards, my coins, but most importantly, my dog tags. I just, I had moved and I couldn't find them. And I seriously thought like they got lost in the move. And I was looking for a couple years and I just kind of gave up. Right. Well, the firemen come through and they throw your stuff everywhere. And lo and behold, everything in my office is pretty much thrown around, damaged, water damage, fire damage, smoke damage. And then there's this box, the box that I had my military stuff in that I couldn't find for 2 years. And the only thing I really, really wanted was my dog tags. And there it is. Untouched, unscathed. The firemen found it because they were throwing stuff around. And some people are like,
oh,
you're
awesome.
On fire. I said, but if you understood, I said, there's something that you have in your like memory box or from your life that's like the one thing you really want. And that was, for me, that's what it was. And I thought it was gone forever. And there it was. Like, it was like, let a ray of light shine down. And it was like, oh, and I'm not saying the situation was easy. It was not easy dealing with the construction, the insurance. It was not easy. It was an uphill battle, but you know what? In the long run, I was better off. The way everything settled, I needed a new front door and it was a specialty door that was going to cost $5,000 and I didn't have, and it was paid for. I mean, it was a horrendous experience, but there were things that came out of it that were silver linings that helped address concerns, issues, or things I needed that I had no idea how I was going to come up with. So bad situation, there were some positive silver linings that came out of it. And I ended up making some really awesome new friends out of the situation, because they reached out to me in my city group when they found out about the fire. And it was like, do you need clothes? Do you need dog food? Do you need this? Do you need food? So, I mean, that's an example of how a really bad situation, not easy, but there are some silver linings.
For sure. We need to take one final quick commercial break. When we come back, we'll talk to Kristal some more about it. And she's got a short little documentary she did that I want her to share about the why and how cool her little documentary is. We'll talk back in just a minute.
Your conscious lifestyle on steroids. OMTimes Radio. IOM FM.
Change and growth are part of natural life and also part of your spiritual life. Everyone needs support and guidance, especially during life passages. Upgrade yourself with the OMTimes Experts program. With OMTimes Experts, you have access to the best intuitive coaches, spiritual teachers, counselors, astrologists, and oracles. Our team was carefully selected so you can trust. Find out more at experts.omtimes.com.
Grab a cup of tea or a glass of wine and tune in for Inspired Conversations with publisher Linda Joy on Tuesdays at 2 p.m. Eastern. Linda creates sacred space for leading female luminaries, empowering authors, heart-centered female entrepreneurs, coaches, and healers. A soulful venue where guests openly share the fears and obstacles they've overcome, wisdom and lessons learned, and the personal journey that led them to the transformational work they do in the world. Inspired Conversations to empower you on your path to authentic, soulful living.
Research shows we apologize up to 10 times a day, and most of the time, we say sorry as a response to someone else's mistake. What if we thanked people instead of all that unnecessary apologizing? So instead of saying, sorry, I'm rambling, you say, thank you for listening. Join us at projectforgive.com, a free, non-religious resource on global forgiveness.
Welcome back, everyone, to the Autoimmune Hour. I'm Sharon Saylor from SharonSaylor.com, and we're here with Kristal Kent. She's a fibromyalgia advocate, a veteran advocate, and patient leader expert in fibromyalgia, chronic pain, and she helps so many communities advocate for show them where their voice is, and advocate for their different conditions. And one of the things that it is Fibromyalgia Awareness Month, and I believe May 12th was Fibromyalgia Awareness Day. Kristal can fill me in on that. But she put out this fun little documentary and talk about building community. She gathered a lot of the people she's met through her patient advocacy work to talk about their life with it. So tell us about, first off, where did this idea for this little mini documentary come from? And then what are some things, you got some really cool people on there.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, they're fantastic. I'm so blessed that this was a independent project. I turned down funding for this because I didn't want the narrative I didn't want to be told the narrative had to be changed because of the branding or sponsorship, because I wanted this to be by people with fibromyalgia for people with fibromyalgia. And so this was done on a zero budget. Volunteered their time. So this was an idea that I literally came up with a year ago, May of 2019. And it was a springboard off of the for lack of a better term, Dear Doctor letter. My Veteran Voices for Fibromyalgia initiative. One of the things with doctors in general are behind on the times with fibromyalgia, more so within the veteran administration medical care system. So with the help of the VVFF team and a friend of mine who is a journalist that helped me polish the letter, last year in 2019, we came out with the Dear Doctor letter and ended up mailing the actual Word doc to 500 different like medical providers and administrators within the VA system in the United States. And then we posted on social media, and then people who weren't veterans were like, where do I get a copy of this? And I was like, here, what's your email? I'll send you the Word doc, or tell me your doctor's address. I'll mail it. So it's coming from me and all of our organizations, because we had our logos on the letter. And I just felt like, okay, this is a good stepping stone, but we need something that is going to resonate with everybody who has fibromyalgia, whether they're a veteran or non-veteran. And so that kind of springboarded into the video, where I basically wanted to show the variety of faces of fibromyalgia. You know, that it wasn't just a woman's illness. It wasn't just an older person's illness. It wasn't, you know, all in our head with the younger generation diagnosed with fibromyalgia. So, you know, pulling some really strong and, you know, diverse and eclectic personalities to show, there's 14 of us in there, that just show so many facets of fibromyalgia, and then put some hard-hitting facts in there while they share personal stories, and then caveats of awareness, and then like subtle undertones of breaking some stigmas of fibromyalgia. And that was the purpose. It was meant to be, you know, for everyone. Whoever watches it, there's going to be someone in that video that they're going to resonate or connect with. And platonically speaking, I have fallen in love with all the people that have volunteered to do this project. It's just, they're amazing people, and just to have so many different people from so many different backgrounds and different areas of advocacy. And some of them don't advocate at all. They're just individuals who live with fibromyalgia who said, yes, I want to be a part of this and share a part of my story. And hopefully it'll help someone feel less alone. And that was the point, is to show the world anyone can have fibromyalgia. You matter. And the documentary is called Fibromyalgia Because It Matters. And then the ending is a bunch of video clips of a bunch of us saying, like, people with fibromyalgia matter. My name is Kristal, I have fibromyalgia, I matter. Like, this whole theme, like, you matter. At the end of the day, you matter, and you matter to us, and we're in this together. And that's the premise of the video. It's meant for people with fibromyalgia, so that they have something to connect to.
I loved it, Kristal. It's wonderful. I actually recognize some of the faces from the patient advocacy group that you and I belong to. And I was like, this is so wonderful. And I resonated very strongly with it, because that's the premise of the Autoimmune Hour, is you're not alone and that you matter. And so I resonated with it. Kristal, tell us how we can find the documentary and where we can find out more about you.
The documentary is on my Facebook page, the Fibro Pain Chronicles. It is also on YouTube, the Fibro Pain Chronicles, and I have it on Instagram, the Fibro Pain Chronicles. So basically that's my name across the board of all social media. It got a little bit overwhelming in a good way to see like how many people shared it and all these platforms it ended up on. But the Fibromyalgia Pain Chronicles or Veteran Voices for Fibromyalgia on Facebook, you'll be able to find it there, or on YouTube.
Fantastic. Everyone, that's Kristal Kent. We'll have those links up at understandingautoimmune.com with recording the podcast of this as well. Have a great week, whatever your adventures. Be sure and join me next week for another brand new episode. Enjoy.
The information provided on the Autoimmune Hour, Understanding Autoimmune, and Life Interrupted Radio, including the websites understandingautoimmune.com and lifeinterruptedradio.com, plus social media, is for educational purposes only. What you read, hear, and see on the Autoimmune Hour, Understanding Autoimmune, and Life Interrupted Radio, and its websites, and other media outlets is based on experience only. The information should never be used for any legal, diagnostic, or treatment purposes. Always seek sound legal, medical, and or professional advice regarding any problems, conditions, and any of the recommendations you see, hear, or read here on the Autoimmune Hour, Understanding Autoimmune, and Life Interrupted Radio.
Hi, this is Sharon, and of course you know me from here on the Autoimmune Hour. Maybe you don't know I'm also an author. My latest book is for kids. It's Pinky Chenille and the Rainbow Hunters, a winner of a 5-star Reader's Favorite review. It's perfect for your early reader and a great bedtime story for your young adventurers. Check it out over at pinkychenille.com. That's PinkyChenille.com. See you there. Do you want to be a better leader? have better relationships, become more self-aware, be a better communicator? Hi, I'm Sharon Saylor, best-selling author, professional speaker, and executive coach. And my life passion is empowering professionals to be the best that they can be. After years of working with professionals, I've discovered the 7 things nobody is telling you that can cost you your clients, sales, and even your career. And I want to give it to you free. You've heard my show, you know my passion, and maybe we'll be working together sooner rather than later. So go grab this ebook now to find out the 7 things that's costing you big time over at SharonSaylor.com/radio gift.
Research shows we apologize up to 10 times a day, and most of the time, we say sorry as a response to someone else's mistake. What if we thanked people instead of all that unnecessary apologizing? So instead of saying, sorry, I'm rambling, you say, thank you for listening. Join us at ProjectForgive.com, a free, non-religious resource on global forgiveness.
Your conscious lifestyle on steroids. OMTimes Radio. IOM FM.
Change and growth are part of natural life, and also part of your spiritual life. Everyone needs support and guidance, especially during life passages. Upgrade yourself with the OMTimes Experts program. With OMTimes Experts, you have access to the best intuitive coaches, spiritual teachers, counselors, astrologists, and oracles. Our team was carefully selected so you can trust. Find out more at experts.omtimes.com.